Good morning, everyone. Welcome to America. I am your host, joined by my co-host.
Hello, deplorables, dregs, despicables, chumps, Neanderthals, semi-fascists, maggots, and of course those dog-faced pony soldiers.
That's right. All right. Just to let the know that I continue to try to solve this old issue. Now using instead of my Mac. But it seems something odd with the program. When I do with Brian is my
Problem child, as always.
Yeah, I don't know what the problem is. Anyway, so I apologize for. Anyway, welcome to watching. This is going to be a session. We're basically just one and only thing, which is the withdrawal of President Biden from the presidential reelection. And then what happened? We see Harris, being the presumptive nominee, and may change or race for 2024. So anyway, all of that. I'll throw one I'll throw out for us, which is I want to fix the IRS. I've been waiting for my refunds. I don't know where my money.
So I think Trump gives you a better chance of fixing the IRS. That's for sure. I think Kamala wants more of the same. Yeah, it's been another pretty darn newsworthy week. But they forced Biden out. The party of democracy that keeps telling us Trump is a threat to democracy went to its leading candidate, who had sewn up enough delegates to get the nomination, and said to him, we don't think you will win. So if you don't drop out, we'll 25th Amendment you, and you will be out of office, and you will lose anyway. So, I mean, that's what they have. And now they, this great statesman, did it for the country. No, he didn't. He did it for the Democrats. The Democrats do not equal the country. And, he wasn't a great statesman. He had a gun to his head. The thing last night was a hostage video. It was hilarious. I don't know. They want you to take these things seriously, and then they grab Kamala Harris. She has no, she has no policy chops. She's told us, right? Remember, when she got cornered by Lester Holt about not having gone to the border. We've been to the border. He's like, you haven't been to the border, and she's like, I haven't been to Europe either. It's like, you know what? That's a problem now. If you've never been to Europe, you don't know any European leaders. You had a chance yesterday to talk to Netanyahu and at least say you knew a world leader and where he was coming from, and you turned it down, right? You made a big show out of, we're not talking to him. So, they're all off to a rocking start here. And the thing about it is like, we've been talking for 2 months about the big problems the Democrats have that they can't really get out of are Israel and immigration, right? The two big eyes, right? And she's worse on both of those than Biden is, right? Biden at least can, present himself as a more or less honest broker, right? Because of all the years he's been in Washington, sometimes it's been politically advantageous to him to be on the side of Israel for stuff. And he's been against them some. So he can kind of claim a little, imprimatur there. But she is, hardcore anti-Israel, funding terrorists, getting them out of jail for doing stuff. And on immigration, she's not only for open borders, she's for free health care for illegal immigrants, people who enter the country illegally. I don't see how you can win with those two stances. I don't see, as long as it's just a matter of making the American people aware.
Yeah. So you mentioned hostage. He didn't really address why he was leaving. I mean,
right. He basically said, it was basically a campaign speech. Chris LaCivita, one of Trump's campaign guys, tweeted out after it that, we should go to the networks and demand equal time, because they basically gave him a campaign ad.
Yeah, actually, that's probably correct. That's not really kind of like, this is why I to drop out. More of why you need to vote for Kamala, set it up for her, tee it up for her, and hopefully people don't know. And, you mentioned democracy. This is obviously big. They always say Donald Trump is a big threat to democracy. The Washington Post a couple of years ago, their taglines, democracy, dark, right?
Yeah.
Something related to Trump. And yet they went through all with the primaries. All these people voted for Joe Biden. He picks up all these delegates and everything like that. And then he gets pressed to drop out. And then they makes a bunch of phone calls. They say, well, there's a verbal commit, to win the nominee, with and that is less pay. I don't exactly how this whole process at that point.
Well, they're making a couple of claims here. So one is, that he wasn't forced to drop out. Yeah, he was forced to drop out. Yeah, they did basically ignore the will of the 14 million voters. Democrats though have moved right on over to Kamala, or in most cases, right? They've just jumped right over there, and they're now like, oh wow, we may have a chance to win. They do not, but they think they do, right? So it's not that's one of the other thing is, they're trying to make it out like, this is a statesman-like thing that's going on, and it's not. They robbed the guy of this, and remember, in 2008 they blew off Hillary for Obama, right? In 2016 they blew off Bernie for Hillary. In 2020 they blew off Pete, Beth, Bernie, and others for Biden, right? So the Democrats are comfortable with poobahs picking their leaders, right? They don't feel like that they've lost anything, but by the fact that their primary votes meant nothing, right? They were thrown in the trash like so much waste paper. So that's the way they are though. They're not when your orientation is not towards freedom, right? Is not towards individual rights. Then whatever the poobahs decide, if they think it'll work, And so the last one I heard yesterday, someone said, he's in trouble now. He doesn't really know what to do with women, women opponents. And it's like, well, the opponent he beat was a woman, right? He beat supposedly the most formidable woman politician America's ever had, and he beat her back. So, I don't know about all that. So he is trying to meet with her today. Okay, that'll be interesting to see what they come up with. And now it's like, it raises an interesting point though. If you're here to negotiate with the United States, who should you negotiate with, right? Who should Netanyahu be meeting with? Who should his appeals go to, right? Because it's unclear who's in charge of the country right now.
Yeah, I mean, go through periods of time, they're going to be laying down presidents and everything like this. But this was, in a sense, kind of unexpected. Late in the king cycle that should be happening.
And it was at the moment when it was beginning to look like, he was going to survive the debate, right? Like he was sort of getting his feet back under him, and he had gone out and made some appearances on the campaign trail, and he had all these people writing, look, he looks vigorous to me. I think he can handle it. Or maybe we shouldn't overthrow. And all of a sudden, they were overthrown.
Yeah. No. So if you're anywhere at this point, kind of like we said, who's in charge? We know he's not going to run. But LBJ, March 1968, he gave Democrats a wider path. Back in those days, the primaries were early as they occur now. That count dramatically last 50 plus years. So they do that. I mean, it didn't do it good in the end, but it was better than this in a lot of ways. I mean, I think people complain of that. They will about this because when you look at about and you and I, millions of other people knew something was wrong with you. His cognitive issues were very clear, and yet as you would say, put him up that weekend at 30, and they let vote for him, and they lock him in essence as and then they realize, he can, and now they do, and then was kind of the fire on the coffin, and they're like we gotta do something. Even we only have 4 months to go. I mean, unbelievable.
Yeah, it really is. And now you're stuck with a candidate who, yeah, that's true. Yeah, it was over. I started noticing we heard it on the radio, and so I couldn't see. He didn't look frail, and you couldn't see what Trump was doing. And I think it might have been good because you could just hear like the voice and him losing his place for long periods of time, and like they're getting to be awkward silences when even the moderators are like, you need to say something, buddy. Right. So, you kind of knew, and I told MK when it ended, I'm like, I don't see how they're going to be able to ignore this. I don't see how they're going to be able to explain it away. And sure enough, 5 minutes later, you start hearing the network news reactions, and that seemed scripted, right? It was like, he's over the hill. He's done. Oh, wow, this was terrible. There's no other way you can describe it, so they all had, they're like, if this goes this way, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to handle it. And then it seemed to not work. It seemed like that wasn't going to work because the people kind of wanted Joe. They've been sold this, he's a kindly old man who wants what we want deal. And, he's not a kindly old man and he doesn't really want what you want, but, they're really good at lying and having their people believe it on the other side. And so that's where he was. And so, all of a sudden, the lie was exposed. And so it's not just, and people don't understand this, but it's not just that, they had been hiding him, as you say, and shielding him from tough questions and walking between him and the press, going to the helicopter so you couldn't see, how bad he was and so forth. So, all of a sudden, one fell swoop, that's all exposed. So now he's wide open exposed and the media is exposed as lying on his behalf, right? So now their credibility, the things they're telling you now, it's going to be a lot harder for her to have the hold over the public consciousness that Biden did because the media can, they're known liars now. They got really found out on that.
Right. All right. So I want to just some of the things that Wall Street said about hair, like her record. On day they capped that she said President Biden passed the legislative presidents or two. So they said the market president endorsing spending below inflation, Green New Deal, entitlement expansion, student loan free. And until otherwise, we should assume it's in favor of Biden's $5 trillion increase in 2025. And then they talking about her top California, sponsored a bill that $1,000 of guaranteeing for families making $500,000. A refundable credit that would have capped rents at 30%. Co-sponsored Bernie Sanders that would pay tuition of schools, public colleges for families for making up to $5,000, which they said was more than the student loan that would have cost $100 billion. And then enforce another Medicare for all, and then She Bernie's claims running for president, the phase the 10 years for and exempt souls. As a San Francisco, she there's the state of fuel, got Washington into Exxon Mobil missions, endorsed the nation on oil and gas, which would cost the jobs, power outages. Those often occur. Expect this to be a in Pennsylvania, and then one question whether the vice president went to the Supreme Court. She said in 2019, having more justice, but that it doesn't hold. And I mentioned last night, right? He mentioned that was something that should be on the table for that. So and then foreign policy, the best we have, border zone, that was it. Just a ridiculous thing. But and if she's not passing up on Netanyahu, and also looking for the Palestinians, and not in of Israel. I think we get a little bit that if you thought that Biden was running wing or something, Kamala Harris will run progressive, left wing. This is like we've seen the tip of the iceberg. Joe Biden comparison to what the administration could and would do, especially if they could.
Yeah, she will be the most leftist candidate we've had since probably McGovern, right? And every once in a while the Democrats do this when they know they're going to lose. They put up someone like that so that they can, the next time those people rear their ugly heads and want stuff, you say, we've tried your way and this is what happened, right? So, they're kind of okay with this. I think that, deep down, I guess Obama has not endorsed Kamala Harris because he doesn't think she can win. And I think he's absolutely right. She's already behind in the polls, and she's the polling today is better for Trump than the polling was yesterday, and the polling yesterday was better than the day before. So, she's a very short time, and she has the enthusiasm of people who are never going to vote for Trump. So it looks like there's more enthusiasm than there was for Biden, and in the near term, there probably will be. But I think within a month, perhaps even before their convention in the middle of August, people will realize that Harris has even less chance of winning than Biden. It'll be interesting to see what happens then because, if Obama has not endorsed her, then the Democrat Party has retained some way to deny her the nomination, right? I mean, if they took all Biden's delegates and gave them to her, they can easily take all of her delegates and give them to someone else, right? So, they're not respectful of what people voted for anyway. So it really doesn't matter what people voted for anyway, right? So, I can see they get to the convention and they see polling results that are even worse than what Biden had, which by then they could well be because, the Democrats, another one that they've had, I've had a lot of fun with this week is they're saying, how crafty it was for Biden, to wait till after the convention. All the fire on the convention was trained on him. And now he gets out and you have to, you get no chance to say anything against Kamala, right? Because you've already spent your convention saying stuff against Joe. Well, first of all, Republican convention, I mean, to the extent, political speeches always draw a contrast. Yeah, it drew contrast. But Republican convention was about Trump. It was about Republicans coming together. It really was not focused on how bad the Democrats are or how much they hate the Democrats, right? It really was a Trump/Vance/unity focus to the whole thing, right? So now the Democrats, it's going to be they've been obsessed with Trump since he came down the escalator. So their convention is going to be obsessed with Trump. And it's going to be, they're going to be looking at a candidate who by then can't claim to be ahead, can't claim to move the needle in her favor, and cannot get away from some pretty radical policy positions, right? I mean, you can't, Trump is going to run a commercial every day from now and then, and I think they've gotten out with $20 million, somebody said, of ads since she joined the race, saying, hey, she wants to give money to illegal aliens, right? She wants to give money to open borders and stuff like that. So, expanded, like you say, expanded social programs, no idea, no budget, rectitude whatsoever, and defund the cops, right? So open borders and defund the cops. So we don't care about justice, and we don't care about all these crimes, that come, from people coming across the border at all. We don't care about that at all. It's not a concern for her administration. Not going to compete. Not going to treat illegal immigrants as criminals. I mean, I think that, one of the things, if I was asked to give advice to the Trump campaign, is to be very focused on issues, right? It doesn't matter if she's a DEI hire. I mean, Biden himself said she was a DEI hire. So, it's kind of a settled issue. It's not worth arguing over, right? If you think they're offended by that, whatever, move on. Just argue the issues. Just say, you vote for her, this is what you will get, and we know that that's not what you want. Right, that's right. Her own Senate, California, state, and local records. The other thing is like, I don't know. Bob probably saw this, but they had there was a tape out there the last day or so of her questioning Bill Barr about why he didn't charge Trump in the Russia collusion thing, and that it was put out by the Democrats to show how tough she is on politicians and whatnot. But Bill Barr is explaining to her the basics of law and of how prosecutors' offices work, which is supposedly the only thing she actually knows something about. And it was painful, and like the idea that they're putting this out to promote her is laughable.
Yeah, I mean, looking up. Well, I'll go a little bit. I just you mentioned McGovern, and it did kind of think, maybe that's what you could have. This is that they put here this. They kind of know they're going to lose. Does that clear the for 2028 for the Democrats? No, run totally obliterated. Even Biden would. Does that take that Harris can no way come back in 2028? The Democrats can look at the gap against Mr. Gretchen Whitmer, Mitt Buttigieg, and Josh, like that, and a little clearer, for them forward that may have they lost the presidency point, and now we're looking at our concentration is to save as many races as we can, and we will see this at 28 for the base.
Right. That's right. This is sort of feeding her to the wolves, clears the field for 2028 for their other contenders. And I think like at this point in the cycle, no one knew who Obama was, right? To this point in the 2008 cycle, basically 2004, I've always said Obama should have done is, right after the 2004 election, gone to Vegas and done a prop bet and say the next president's name will be Hussein. I mean, imagine the odds you would have gotten on that. It'd have been well into the millions to one, and it was, right. You ended up with a president whose name was Hussein, the very next president, and so you don't know who the stars are, right? And it looks like I don't really see Newsom as being viable for a long time now, because you just if you were running against him, you could just show video of San Francisco and people pooping and sleeping on the streets and needles everywhere, and all that, just the urban campgrounds forever and ever and ever. It's a state in crisis, state in failure because of his policies. Shapiro, I don't know, is an interesting. I know he's an interesting guy to the Democrats. I'm not sure what his nationwide appeal is either. You had mentioned two others who
Whitmer.
Buttigieg will have a say in it. They like him. They think he's a good candidate. They think he's sharp. But I don't think Harris. I think the whole point of this is to get Harris out of the picture once and for all. Remember, this time last year, Biden was trying to get her off the ballot. Right? They were quietly whispering to people to check her out. There's also some speculation out there that she has a drinking problem. So, that will be getting watched closely, and you'll be able to tell on that one how she does on schedule, right? If she can do, 2-3 rallies a day and fly somewhere else and do another one and all that kind of stuff, that, that's probably not a problem. But that starts slowing you down, right? You start needing a drink, and then you need to be away from people for a little while. Then you need some sleep, and before you know it, you're starting to be late to stuff and noticeable, in your sloppiness and so forth, trying to keep up. So it's a pace that only a few people can keep, right? That's one of the ways that we winnow down who can be president, is you have to have a pretty darn good energy level in most cases, except for, Biden, who did it from his basement, during COVID, to win this, right? As certainly, Trump won in 2016 pretty clearly by out hustling Hillary.
Yeah. The thing too is, trying to get Harris on, kind of out that job last, because let's realize that just like they've done, we have talked about before, they've kind of the whole DEI, the administration, and that locked them, Biden, rather than the best person to be his vice president, chose the black. He said he was going to put
Right. And the thing about it is, if he just appoints her, then you really can't say it's a DEI hire. It's because, he pointed out that he was looking for a black woman. And then he gives a speech where he says DEI is really working and it's the bedrock of what America really is. And our top example is our vice president. He said it. It's not even us saying it. It's him saying it.
Right. So that they themselves in this situation where of that Biden, the strongest person who might have had a chance, is without him, we're seeing these ramifications like you can't pass over she's the liberals will put DEI, but she hasn't done anything to disprove that. And when you look at her record, California, I run over. It's very progressive, pretty thin. So it doesn't have a lot of this experience. Now we're getting to people are getting concerned. Maybe some quote enthusiasm on at least the liberal media up all this enthusiasm on these rallies. They brought in all this people sitting on the stuff because of the enthusiasm. Biden, nobody really wants Biden. Now they're like, got to be all in because we don't know what else we're doing. And money that money is waiting to come for somebody to Biden. Do it hair. But I don't know. That's a lasting thing. The email getting from the DC and related is still kind of like all about we're need more money. We're blah blah whatever. So I think they're clearly worried about where they are, what they're are of winning this and there's a little bit behind, right? She just gets into. They're going to play. They're going to use color, black woman, something. That's going to off because it is the record, and that's what Biden, where has it now. So let's go back to what I'll hit her on. She is with the Wall Street. She's wedded to the Biden administration, right? To their policy. Hit them on that. That is devastating.
Yeah, I think they missed a thing about this. this border czar thing, so they, Trump told her, I mean, Biden put her in charge of the border. So, there's not an official thing in the U.S. government as a czar, right? They appoint people to run point on an issue. They don't get a budget for it. It's not a title. You don't get a secretary, right? It's just, somebody who's probably already in government some which way assigned to a task like this, right? So, it's a slang term anyway, and she certainly fits the slang definition of czar, right? She was given this policy portfolio, to do it. So the idea, she wasn't a border czar. Yes, she was. I mean, it's ridiculous. Okay, but the question that we're missing on this is like, so why is it so important that you not be known as the border czar? Why are you raising this? Because are you ashamed of these policies? Are you running away from the Biden administration's immigration record? That's the way to push that point. Why not just say, yeah, it was the border czar. We did great. We made X, Y, and Z happen, right? It shows I'm an effective executive ready to take over the country. And the reason is because it does not show she was an effective executive. It shows that she had a couple of half-hearted meetings in Washington with embassy officials from Guatemala and Panama and so forth, but that nothing really happened and that she didn't really care and that she had to be dragged kicking and screaming to meaningless border visits that, like, basically they took her to headquarters and introduced her to the folks at headquarters, let her look around headquarters, but, did not take any interest in actually learning, like, what this issue is and why the American people think about it. And the problem for them with that is, immigration used to be an issue that, it was big in Arizona, New Mexico, California, Texas, right? And the rest of the country kind of like, their impression of the whole thing was that it's big in Arizona, California, New Mexico, and Texas, right? And not my problem. Okay, well, now it is their problem, right? Those things, guys are getting busted around the country. They're, showing up on, fantastic crimes, high-profile crimes, far, 1,500, 1,800 miles from the border. And people are angry. So, you're having, New York City, they're kicking kids out of their schools so the schools can be used to house illegal immigrants, right? People they don't understand that. They don't want that. So, and there's no getting out of it. The question for her is, why are you running away from the Biden administration's immigration policy? Y'all all say the borders, you said the border's closed. You've said it numerous times to reporters. You've said it on Capitol Hill. The border is closed. We have the border closed. The border is clearly not closed, right? And you know it. And so now you're treating the border like a Biden administration policy failure. And someone needs to make her explain why she would do that.
Yeah, I agree.
Other thing is energy. So, like, she's on the energy. Where is she on that? She's terrible on it. She wants to cut down. She said no fracking, no offshore drilling, no LNG. She wants to create energy scarcity again. And stop us from eating meat and all this kind of stuff. It's like, that's not what you're supposed to be doing. And I don't think that you can go to the country anymore and say, we're going to get rid of all energy because we have to have energy. They've seen what happens when you screw around with it.
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying earlier, she's tied to the Green Deal all the time, right?
Yeah.
And what have we seen so far? All these mandates. You've got to have. You've got to make a amount of percentage, 5 and 20. We rushed in the Fords, they all rushed it for EV, and they lost it on that, right? They lost money on EVs after kind of an honeymoon period. We'll do that pretty good. Costs, they couldn't make that, and they started back. But we've seen around this country is that you can't rely on energy for the country. You've got to have fuel, some mixture, nuclear energy, other things, in order to make power this country. With all the things that about generative, all this stuff, right? It's kind of the thing. ChatGPT, all this stuff that is now country by storm. It needs and a lot of, and it's not coming from some windmills, solar panel, and stuff like that, right? You need fossil fuel power those places, and that plus the fact that in all those areas, they're struggling to provide enough electricity to the as their population. They need to spend a lot of money to fix the grid. And they need green energy to do it. It's just provide it. But they're so there's lots of to go hit the remind people of. I think the border plays big. We know inflation is a big issue in the economy. The Democrats they throw that inflation is poop. Well, look at for 3 or 4 years ago, what the prices are today. They're substantially high. They're not returning to those levels. We are now paying prices, and we're going to pay these, if not higher, forward because it's still running percent, 3 or 4%, depending on what gauge you're looking. So these things continue to go up. A lot of our base continue to go up. So that is a problem. And we still have some supply issues and things like that. They have to fix. And people. I mean, if you're going to a place and your meal now is $6-7. You're like, I have to that much money for my kid. I can't afford that. Anymore. So it's just the whole thing is crazy out of control. There's a there for I want to do. You can comment on that as well. Is it where Kamala for VP pick? If she becomes somebody does anyone really? Yep.
Right. Yeah, she's as the VP pick. So it looks like they're that's right. That's correct. So, I always said that, the key to the whole thing is energy policy, right? If you go for plentiful energy, you get low prices. And when energy prices are down, prices for everything are down, right? Because energy costs are part of everything you buy, right? So when they go up, the prices of everything else goes up. That's the driver. And, the first thing Biden did when he took office was cancel the Keystone Pipeline, announce a moratorium on offshore drilling. Now they've cut off LNG sales. So they're telling the world we want scarcity of fossil fuels. We don't want any more oil and gas coming from us. We're in the process of getting rid of it. And her answer to that is, we need to help those workers transition. Right? That's what she says. Not like where will we get the energy, but we need to just give those people other jobs so that they don't try to work in the energy business. I think that what she's talking about is completely nuts. The problem is, there's a sizable portion of the population now that is willing to go along with things that are completely nuts. So I guess Biden wants to make his last thing, Supreme Court reform. Pack the court. Put in a code of ethics, enforce laws on the court. The separation of powers arguments are all in there. There's not going to be, any kind of constitutional amendment between now and then. I mean, the whole thing they're talking about is ludicrous. So basically, the mess Trump will have to take over is, inflation still well above 3%, still, a slow, halting jobs market. Almost all the growth is either in government or healthcare. In other words, we're getting sicker and more dependent, and that's it. Manufacturing jobs down, full-time jobs down, wages as a percent of inflation down. So you have a lot of stuff that's not working their way. Trump is going to come in with a pretty significant mess to clean up, and nothing is going to be done to improve it between now and January. Right? He's basically. I mean, Biden was only working about 3 days a week anyway. Now that he's not interested in keeping the job, how often do you think he'll even be seen at the White House? They're already canceling most of their public appearances. They're pretty much just going to ride it out on the public dime for 6 months.
Yeah. So you have a VP pick off?
Who do I think it'll be? It looks like she's talking to Shapiro. I think he's the most serious one she's had. I think that they think, the Democrats, they think about everybody as a group, right? You go through X and it's like, all right, white women, don't screw this up. Vote for Kamala. It's like, okay, why is it, why are you going after white women? Why don't you just say, hey, American voters, vote for Kamala, right? Why is it like they're aimed at ethnic groups? Because they think of ethnic groups. And so, and in this case, it's, if we nominate the governor of Pennsylvania, then we'll win Pennsylvania. Well, he didn't win by a whole lot, against a pretty weak candidate for governor. And, and Trump's ahead in the polls in Pennsylvania, and she is foursquare against fracking. How's that going to go? I mean, Pennsylvania is an energy state. First oil well ever in the U.S. was in Titusville, Pennsylvania. There's something called Oil City, Pennsylvania. Oil all over that state, natural gas. Energy is a big business in Pennsylvania, and she wants to close every bit of it as soon as possible.
Yeah, I think it's probably the question of mine. Take that, looking at the lay of the land, wants to do at this point is that help him potential president is going down the line or being top is that kind of a thing like that. So I think because you get asked to accept. I don't know. That helps her. With the state tries to narrow even more, maybe put a play more thing there. I don't know. It's hard. It's going to be hard for her to reflect. Right? I think all female would be probably hard. The population to pick a person. I think the way looks at things. Certain things. So she's got right. To Bill. I don't know. Because I think we talked about the Democrat bench isn't very deep. Right?
No, it's not. You're going to have to pull somebody out of an awkward situation. I think, I guess the hot talk, a lot of the Democrat activists are interested in Buttigieg. Right, but he's not done very well at his job either, and it's limited appeal. And obviously, there's going to be a lot of people that are never going to vote for him because he's gay, which that wouldn't bother me in particular. If you're good and you can carry out good public policy, that wouldn't that wouldn't bug me one bit. What you do in your private time, but I don't think she's going to go that direction. I think that. It's sort of like why Joe named her. Like, you don't want somebody that takes the spotlight, right? You want someone that the spotlight stays on you. And Shapiro's not well known nationally. He probably thinks he is, but he's not. And Buttigieg is, right? He's known all over the country. He's a cabinet member. He ran for president. Leading voice in gay politics and so forth. So, I don't think it'll be him. I think they'll keep him right where he is. I think if she wins, it'll probably be some kind of cabinet post for him. They may just let him stay. But I don't see him being in it. You can see, Netanyahu has decided that they're not going to win. He's already trying to deal with Trump. Zelensky, as soon as the ticket flipped to Kamala, he knew he wasn't going to win and is now suing for peace. Right, people around the world are looking at this and saying, America's not really going to make her president.
Yeah. Or French. Yeah. I mean, we kind of. I mean, isn't that what we're saying?
Yeah, yeah. She is a pro squad on this, anti-Israel. She had some ugly stuff to say about Netanyahu and Israel yesterday. That's still like a 75-25 issue. About 3/4 of the country, understands the very simple fact that Israel is the one who was attacked. Israel is the victim here, and they should do the idea of siding with the Palestinians, who tried to push for a quote 2-state solution when no one wants that. Neither side wants that.
Yeah, and it does come up in pain. I mean, Trump has got advantage in that issue. So I think that's probably try to avoid. That's a losing for her.
Right, it's a loser, and immigration's even worse. It's like, because she's not only for essentially open borders. What she says is it should be a civil thing, not a criminal thing, to enter the country illegally. And she wants to give them health care, right? She wants to provide full package of benefits to people who snuck into the country illegally. I just don't think that you can go, into any of the states that she has to flip and make that case. I don't think that will fly in Michigan or Pennsylvania or Wisconsin. I guess Wisconsin, she has pulled even. All the rest of them, Trump is either as much ahead as he was before or has actually widened his lead a little in some. So, it's not off to a great start for her. She had her splashy, she filled a whole high school gym in Wisconsin, 3,000 people. At the time, somebody put on Facebook yesterday or Twitter or whatever, at the time she was speaking to the 3,000 people in the gym, there were about 8,000 people in line outside of the Coliseum in Charlotte to get in to hear Trump. They were just the people still waiting in line, right? The others had gone in. That place was, a 22,000 seat deal. A couple more, 2,000 or 3,000 more can sit on the floor when there's no event going on there like there was last night. It's just a stage on one end. So you're talking about, he had 25,000, she had 3,000, and the media is like, she packed the house.
Yeah, I mean, she's going to attract more people, at least initially, than Biden. Because people were pretty down about the whole Biden. But she can't Trump on enthusiasm. The modern crowd is unbelievable. They will. Yeah. They wait hours. In line for her before he shows up at them. And then they sit through. Usually winding and just Trump and whatever. But he gets going. He knows. He feeds off. So it becomes kind of an all in essence. The vat, depending upon what they. Anyone been able to that level of enthusiasm. That has been me for what Trump has been able to do. I mean, and that will always, no matter what she tries, she's never going to reset.
Right. I mean, and the thing about it is, this has been going on since before he was elected in 2016. Trump has been having these ginormous rallies all over the country, for 8 or 9 years now. It's not a one-off phenomenon. It's not one high school gym in Wisconsin. It's big field. So also you saw in that, I guess we should spend some time on the Secret Service situation. The lady finally gave up and resigned after even Jamie Raskin was saying she should get out. The Secret Service people are ratting them out. They knew about this. There's even one guy who said on TV yesterday, that they knew who this guy was. I've read reports he had an FBI.gov email address. There's something going on here that needs to be checked out. I mean, I don't know if that's true. I don't, I'm just saying it's getting that weird, right? But this is not on the up and up, right? Something beyond incompetence happened here, and we need to look and see what it was. And the left wants to focus on whether Trump got a bullet in the ear or a shard of glass from somewhere. I don't, they can't really prove it, right? It says you don't know, you don't know where all the bullets went and so forth. But you can't prove it wrong either. You can't, no one knows what he got shot with, and you're never going to know.
Yeah, just to the when you have talking to her saying, hearing, it's kind of compared to when the college university, testify. And you know what happens?
Yeah.
This is not well.
Right, that's right. Yeah. And so she's drummed out though, but they don't. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's my rep right
Yeah. Yeah. Jamie gonna Jamie, man. Yeah, but I mean, even he agreed that she had to go, but now you have, the Secret Service is now telling Trump he can't do any more outside rallies because they don't want to protect him, right? They don't want to give those resources. It's like, I think this is what you got to give the resources to. With all apologies to the, RFK Jr. supporters out there, if somebody's going to cut back and free up resources, let it be him, right? He's not going to win. We kind of know that. Yeah. But they do need to be putting up what it takes to keep Trump safe. And they should not be telling him, you can't have rallies in outdoors, right? That's ridiculous. That's election interference. We're going to squeeze the Secret Service where they can't really do what they're supposed to do so that you can't really campaign,
Yeah, here we have.
Yeah, it's going to be some dome stadiums. That's part of what he's doing, and they're looking at the big arenas, the big 25,000 seat place like the one downtown here, and Charlotte last night. Not mid-size, not college basketball, but big, substantial arenas.
Yeah, but part of too. He likes to kind of us things, and get out there with. I mean,
yeah, Butler County, Pennsylvania. Like, there's no 20,000 seat arena there, right? There's not.
Yeah,
and he held a bunch of rallies there, right? He did that in the last campaign too.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of going to Butler, kind of like going to the fairgrounds, right? I mean, he's taking this location, which really for that purpose, just drawing people. So yeah, I mean, you're just you're kind of hurting in that sense of by only do the. We can't protect it on police do this anymore. Well, guess what? Figure it out.
Right. Yeah, it's your job. It's been done before, and it needs to be done again.
Yeah.
It's the answer is not Trump doesn't get the campaign. I mean, I know y'all wish that would be it, but that's not how we do stuff here. The thing about it is too, it's like we also need to get to the bottom of. There were a lot of people telling the cops, hey, there's a dude, there's a shooter, there's a guy with a rangefinder. The cops are talking about it themselves. They saw the guy, they were on that roof, then got off that roof and let him have the roof. That's a lot. There's a lot of questions that need answered on that. They have not even thought about speaking to.
Yeah. All right. I just quickly review the politics for today. And kind of what we're saying earlier. So Arizona, Trump is up 5. Georgia, he's up. Again, he's up 1. And he's up 2. High. Wisconsin. So not a whole lot of from before Biden drew. There's a little bit, but in essence, Democrats thought to get some flip script.
Yeah, big game changer, and they have it, and they're not getting it, right? And they're not really going to get it. And this is the high point, right? This is the moment when people, okay, let's try something new. A lot of Democrats who had written this off, who jump back in the game right now because they see a ray of hope. But what other thing happened is one of the few groups that Biden was actually winning was seniors, people 65 and over. And now that's going to go back to Trump, right? You're not getting somebody with open borders and doesn't want police, wants police defunded, you're not winning with the older people, right? So the youth advantage is knocked down. She's not popular with young people. She's phony. I mean, and they, one thing, one thing that early and that you sometimes even lose the ability to discern is when people are phony, right? Young kids can spot phonies from a mile off, right? And she's a phony, and you can tell.
Yeah. So the I had put down here. So the last vice president that was elected as president was Martin Van Buren. So the
last vice president. Oh yeah, that's right.
She could break the book, but it doesn't really look it's very likely.
Wait a minute. Poppy, wasn't he vice president?
Yeah, I mean, I think what it was. I don't know. If I look this up, I don't. It may have been a situation like this rather than running on their own. That so other that took over.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Because you're right. Yes. You can have each president go on clips of the president term after term is completed. But I don't know. I just was maybe the internet.
Never
would happen. And everything like that. So just we wrap up. What on September 17th invited to debate. Is there a need for debate?
I think that the country will want to see a debate. Again, I think it's the challenge to Trump is to keep it on the issues. Don't get sidetracked. Don't go off into wild attacks. Just open borders. Food, welfare for illegal health care for illegal aliens. Defund the police. Shut down all oil production in the country. Just hammer those things. Just say it may sound good, but we can't run a country like these freaks want to run it.
Yeah. I think the temptation is Trump to attack a lot of things to bring up the DEI and like, and I think that would be not necessarily let her be she's off script in circles, right? It's word salad. So she'll do that. People be wondering, kind of like what is Bob talking about? You wonder what hair, because she just kind of circle thing. You just leave it for that. But my concern here is just that big black woman. How much she's going to get, right? It's like black woman.
Right. But here's the thing about that. And a bunch of people have raised that concern to me. Like that, you're right in the target of what they want to protect and promote and all that, right? Black woman likes to speak truth to power or whatever, But that's what goes back to the thing about the debate, right? Remember we said the thing about the debate is not only did Joe stutter and hammer and hom, right? It was that the media lied to us about that, right? They said he's perfectly competent, he's sharp as a tack, he's as smart as he was 10 years ago. Like Joe Scarborough said, he's even better, right? So what we know now is those people will lie through their teeth for their political interests, right? So now when they come and tell you stuff about Kamala or Vice President Harris, then you will understand that these are people who lied to you about Biden's health, right? You're looking at Kamala Harris because they lied to you about Joe Biden, right? They're liars. They're not. It's not a guess anymore. It's they're liars. You can't trust what they say.
All right. Believe it or not, we fulfilled the entire. So I got to stop here by saying thank you everyone for love the comments. Great. It's our first time we've done kind of one subject. We may do some of those again as it goes along. But as always, stay safe. Remember, we live in the world. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. And God bless. And we will reach as I continue to sound.